Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with the Critters, where we meet here every Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. And every week we talk about behavior through the lens of science, not opinions, not quick fixes, but understanding reinforcement, contingencies, and building relationships and keeping those relationships moving forward and stronger through progressive plans. So, whether you work with parrots, reptiles, mammals, or anything else entirely, the principles are the same. Behavior follows reinforcement history. So today we're going to talk about building trust and strengthening bonds in honor of Valentine's Day. And I'm going to show you and talk about how to do this without creating unhealthy dependency with the animals. Good morning, everybody. So for those that are new, you can find out more about the work that we do through my website, theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. You can also email me directly, which you may want to pay attention to this, because for everybody who's attending this live stream today, I have something for you because I am here because I want to help you. If you are willing and are serious about putting the work into strengthening the bond with the animals you live with or care for, um, you are you will get my focus, my attention. And you can email me at Lara, Lara, at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. Good morning, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. Let's see, let me skip through these real quick. If you're interested in our memberships, you can find them on the website. You can also contact me there. Happy Valentine's Day in honor of even Rocky Valentine in the other room, who was going to be euthanized for aggressive behavior. And now he is one of the most amazing creatures I have ever met. He was an animal misunderstood. And before we move into today's topic, I want to mention next Sunday, save the date. I'm going to be having on a guest speaker for an hour from 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. Eastern, Chrissy Pratt. She works with elephants, a lot of different elephants, and her and I share a lot of the same views in the work that we do. So you're going to want to make sure you attend next week's live stream, and that will be with Chrissy Pratt, and it will be at 9:30, starting at 9:30 a.m. So this live stream is for you if you feel disconnected from your animal, you want to build a stronger, trusting relationship with an animal in your direct care, or if you're facing behavior challenges and want to understand how to move forward. Um, so let's see. And I put a lot of thought into this. And I want to help you guys. So I want to talk about understanding the bond is not a quick fix. Trust is built over time. And we just dove into this very deeply in Friday evening's group discussion. It did happen within the Parrot Project, but I need to share that with everybody in all the memberships because so many times people take too big of steps in trying to work with the animal. They think the animal should understand. If the animal is not doing the behavior you're asking of it, several things could be happening, such as you're not working with an animal's positive reinforcer. You're taking too big of steps. The animal doesn't understand. You don't have motivation. And behavior issues are often unintentionally reinforced by us. If that behavior maintains or increases, we are reinforcing it, even if it's undesired behavior, something's reinforcing it. We need to identify what it is. We are always training. The real question is, what are we training? When animals lack enrichment, training, or interaction, behavior problems start to emerge. And I have this as well. And when I look and when I'm working with, when I'm making mistakes, I don't look at them as mistakes because I do make mistakes. I just try not to make them again. I don't look at my mistakes as failure. I look at them as guidelines for what to do next. So I wanted to give an example with Noodle, the cockatiel, the one that we were trying to train last weekend. In thinking back, I did not set myself up for success, and I understand why it didn't happen. But Noodle, because I get so busy, this is just one example. He craves attention. That's why I'm showing this photo. He wants the training because studies show if you're actually using positive reinforcement training, it's the animal's preferred form of enrichment because it involves so much. It involves social enrichment, different types of environmental enrichment, food reinforcers, tactile interaction, mental stimulation. And this is a photo of Noodle in the aviary intentionally flying to his training perch. I use this perch at no other time but when it's time for training. So he's telling me this is what he wants to do. This was a very powerful statement. And that also tells me that I'm on track because I said the other night in our live stream as well, just because we're using positive reinforcement does not mean it's a positive experience for the animal. And there's different key aspects to check to make sure that the animal is being positively and reinforced and is enjoying the session, because we can deliver positive reinforcement and the animal not enjoying the training session, then it starts moving into a different type of reinforcement, the type that we want to stay away from. So Kim says, I have a dog I'm working with. She is loving the positive reinforcement. And I told everybody the other night, if you're not having fun and the animal has the choice to walk away from you or fly away from you, and it is, then it's time to sit down and reevaluate because positive reinforcement is not happening. So Noodle, because I get really busy and I'm working on a couple of really big projects right now that are taking a lot of my time, um, behavior issues start to develop. And he will go do things to get my attention. And it's usually attention because it's things I don't want him doing, like getting on the floor with a deaf and blind dog in the house. That is something I definitely don't want to do. But I've noticed I'm reinforcing this behavior. He will fly to my office doors and start chewing on the wood at the top of the door. And he does it because he gets what he wants. And I've been positively reinforcing that because he wants my he wants my attention. As soon as I hear the chipping on the door, I turn around and look at him, and bam, I've just reinforced that undesired behavior, and it works for him. So I have another example I want to give to you. And like I said, this works across species. So you're going to see me showing pictures of different species. And like I said, if we're actually using positive reinforcement training, it's the animal's preferred form of enrichment. All right. So that lack of enrichment can lead to undesired behaviors. Let me give you another example and pull up some photos of some animals you'll probably remember. Ta-da! The lemurs. Dill, chili, and gherkin. So those of you that don't know lemurs, you can look at them and they're just like chaos. They're bing, bing, bing everywhere. So these lemurs were fully thriving and enriched under our care, these three lemurs. And I took this picture because this behavior doesn't lie. When we would walk into their enclosure, they're used to training on a daily basis. Different types of foraging enrichment, numerous different types that we would change out every single day and change out where their perches were to create variety. because we know that stagnant and with stagnant environments comes behavior issues. And one of the saddest things to see is an animal in its environment just sitting there because it has nothing else to do. Um, I feel it's my responsibility if I have an animal under my direct care to provide the best life possible, uh, s- because that's called responsibility. So, anyways, this picture is a powerful statement. It is showing um, that they would run to us. And if we got busy, and I could tell behavior doesn't lie. I can tell when enrichment, maybe enrichment was intentional to be enrichment, but if the animal isn't interacting with it, it's not enrichment. Enrichment are things that the animal can learn from. So this is me identifying a reinforcer. Why are these lemurs running to me? Why are these lemurs touching me? That is identified reinforcer. Reinforcer identified. So when we would get busy and maybe not designing the best enrichment, what we would see is we would start be having a cue to a behavior issue was when we would walk in their enclosure, they would rush the door. Um, that tells me that they're either rushing the door for something we're bringing in, or if we're busy and then they become deprived of the interaction with us. We are part of their enrichment if we're the trainer delivering positive reinforcement, um, we're part of the enrichment. And I talk about the four main factors of reinforcer effectiveness. Deprivation is one. When we're busy, we're depriving these animals of our social interaction. And that is exactly what I was seeing in this photo. So then once we start the training, you can almost see the animal saying thank you because there's a lot of focus. It gives them something to do. It's that social interaction with us, and it builds that bond. Um, so that's why we're always trying to include a variety of different types of enrichment. Um, and this strengthens the bond with the animal. So, practical steps to start building trust with these animals. Let's see, what's my next slide? I do believe it is the wolves. Yes. So, when I don't have a relationship with an animal, or I'm just getting to know the animal, I need to understand the animal better, I'm going to train it. I'm not going to go in its enclosure until I thoroughly get a really good grasp of understanding behavior of this individual animals. So, what I'm going to do is work off contact with the animal, with me being on the outside of their enclosure, them on the inside of the enclosure, and I'm going to start teaching them. First, I want to teach them understanding contingencies, meaning, hey, every time I ask something from you, it's going to be of what worthwhile to you, and that creates engagement, motivation, and it helps really build your list of reinforcers. And a lot of times, when I first start working with an animal, especially with one that doesn't know me. In a week from today, I'm heading out of town to go work with a lot of different species of animals that I've never met before, and for a couple of days. So I need to understand these animals, identify reinforcers, create that motivation. And a lot of times when I'm first starting to work with an animal and I do not know them, when they understand every time I ask something from you, and you give me that behavior, I'm going to make it worth your while because this is two-way communication. And I'm not really a big fan of teaching the terms teaching the learner, because if I'm teaching, I'm learning as well. We are both learners. Um, so I may think I'm the teacher, but I'm learning from the animal. The animal is teaching me as well, and that is why I train, because it creates a really strong, trusting relationship with the animal. So with these wolves, I'm trying to understand them. I'm trying to see what fear looks like, excitement, overstimulation, which is what I don't want if I'm going to going into the enclosure with them and with these wolves, because they jumped a lot in anticipation. So I taught them. I tried to put that jump on cue, and then I didn't cue it. But there's different time. I didn't cue it from inside the enclosure unless it was cueing it on something except other than me. So I wanted to see what all those cues look like that the wolf was getting ready to jump. So we taught him up, we taught him down, we taught him nose targets, we taught him a rear end target. Those are all things I worked with them once I went in the enclosure with them, because once I'm inside the enclosure with them, I can teach them all these different things. And in this live stream, no, this was in last week's solution session in our advanced membership, which the solution sessions are every Tuesday night. We talked about, we talked about off contact training. You can have a relationship with an animal through training and enrichment without ever having any type of physical contact with that animal. I've done it numerous times, and I'll tell you what, it is one of the most damn amazing things I've ever seen and experienced, and it just really builds that bond with that animal, and you start having a really strong relationship with that animal. And speaking of strong relationships with animals, we've got to be careful not to make the animal over dependent on us, because if they if they really favoring the positive reinforcement training and it becomes their favorite form of enrichment, um, you want to make sure there's a healthy balance there and keep that animal interacting with not just you. And in the beginning, it can be just you, to teach certain things, but then you want to quickly get in other people training, doing different things, so that animal doesn't become bonded with just you, because that can create a lot of havoc. For if you have these animals in your house, it can create a lot of problems and not so mutual feelings with other people in the household in this animal. With this animal, if it's in the work environment, then it creates a lot of stress. Talking like if you're working at a sanctuary, shelter, zoo, educational center, then it creates this dependency that that animal can only interact with that one person. We do not want that. That is not healthy. So I pulled up these pictures of our training with Coco. A lot of times we'll start training off contact. Like I said, even a new person comes in, training off contact. You can do target training, you can do recall training, you can do station training. And like I said, sometimes you never interact with the animal. It's always the animal one that decides. If the interaction is is stressful for the animal, there's no need for it. So then, um, Coco is one that we wanted to move him to from point A to point B, but we were afraid there was a lot of overstimulation there with close, not close physical contact, not full contact. So we started teaching him, and we'll teach this to numerous animals. You don't have to step on us, you don't have to be on us for us to move you from point A to point B. I've taught large tortoises that weigh over 100 pounds to get into a wagon and then pull the wagon so we can move them from point A to B. We've moved animals into crates, and then you shape the behavior of moving the crate. With Coco, we decided, and he was afraid of sticks and anything in long objects. And this is what we discussed in Friday night's live stream in the Parrot Project. Some of the biggest mistakes people make are taking too big of steps with these animals. And we discussed micro shaping, really breaking it down. Because if Coco is afraid of sticks, I bring this dowel out, he could start screaming. And he did, but that tells me, okay, that's a mistake. That's a guideline that tells me this is too big of a step. We need to move back to where Coco was comfortable, and then start shaping and desensitizing this Tao. So then we started shaping him, stepping onto it, and then he became comfortable with it. And we're getting ready to start this in the Parrot Project again. We're just getting ready to start this. And we're doing this for a person who wants to move their bird from point A to point B, but doesn't know how to do it and get it out of the cage without getting bit. And I never put myself in a situation where I'm nervous, because if I'm nervous, that means it's because I don't know what the animal's getting ready to do. And if I label the animal as unpredictable, I guarantee you that animal is labeling you as unpredictable too, because there's no consistency in the interaction with me or between me and another person. So I could tell, and this is building a strong relationship with Coco. Coco is one of the birds that will nail you in a heartbeat, and you'll be bleeding before you even knew you were bitten. But that's what happens when you push an animal too far. No, if you have birds or any animal, doesn't mean you have to get bit. Animals bite for a reason. They bite because it's been reinforced, and it has worked for them in the past. And you can change this behavior. I've worked with animals with abnormal repetitive behaviors for such a long history, and you can change it. Um, so don't stop trying to change it. But I could tell with Coco, this tactile interaction was a reinforcer. I just had to teach him that's what I was getting ready to do. That's what I wanted to do. And finally, I was able to be able to deliver the reinforcer, and it's a strong reinforcer. So this is a photo of the importance of getting other people in the equation. I think this is the last in this series of photos. Yeah, that's the importance of getting other people into the equation of interacting, because it's important to not have that animal have such a strong bond with you that it doesn't want to interact with anybody else. So some common barriers are lack of time, which is a lot of people. I'm going to tell you, lack of paying attention, um, past negative experiences for the animal, people's uncertainty about where to start, misunderstanding animal behavior. And we understand behavior through training. And if we're taking too big of steps in our training, we can really confuse. It can cause a lot of frustration for the animal. It can cause a lot of frustration from us, and actually cause the training session to be positively punished and not happen again, or that type of interaction to not happen again. So progress comes from small, consistent actions rather than long one-time efforts. And when we identify the obstacle, create a structured plan, we can reinforce success. So, you've heard me talk about the memberships. You can find that on our website. But I also wanted to mention one more time that Coffee with the Critters is now and I've got an announcement to make. Coffee with the Critters is now a podcast. You can find out more about the work we do in the Parrot Project, and our every Tuesday night live streaming solution sessions, where you, in our advanced membership, where you bring me the behavior, your problem, whatever. I'll help you come up with a plan to work through it. And for those that are going to be in Cincinnati, I will be presenting at the Animal Behavior Management um, Alliance Association, and that's combining with the International Association for Avian Trainers and Educators in Cincinnati at the end of March. With that, I also want to say, before we wrap up, um, first of all, don't forget about next week's live stream with Chrissy Pratt, uh, Executive Director of Elevation, starting at 9:30. But before we wrap up, I want to remind you that today's discussion is just a starting point. These small foundational steps, training through barriers, building behaviors gradually, and setting animals up for success across environments, are the kinds of strategies that can make a huge difference. So, I'm going to create a small PDF that outlines the key steps we talked about today, and I'm happy to send it to you. And this is for those of you that have attended the live stream, this live stream only. If you just send me a quick direct message, tell me you want this PDF. Um, if you give me your email, I will send it to you in an email, but I want you to also tell me what you're struggling with, and I'll add information to your situation. And I will try to work on that and get that to you tonight. So, with that, I want to say thank you all for spending your time with me today and learning. And I will see you next Sunday on Coffee with the Critters with Chrissy Pratt from Elevation at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Take care, everybody.